You hold me close, tell me that you can read my mind. How do you get to know how I feel inside? 'Cause I didn't take you there. Oh baby, get out my head, get out my head. Take me away, take me away. Don't wanna see it fade out. Take me away, take me away. Don't wanna hear it out loud. 'Cause you keep us undercover, out of sight. And it's true, no one can discover all your lies, all your lies. Take me away, take me away. Don't wanna see it fade out. Take me away, take me away. Don't wanna hear it out loud. Take me away, take me away. Don't wanna see it fade out. Take me away, take me away. Don't wanna hear it out loud.
Light rises, shakes the night, creation's moving. Can you feel it all around you now? A whole world of wonder, oh, oh. A fascination set into motion, a swell of grace immersed in love. The only place where all that surrounds you loses control. I'm captivated by another dimension. I've never felt this way before. I'm captivated by a love never ending. This is worth fighting for. My soul's awakened, energy, I can't contain it. Life has been invigorated in total surrender, oh, oh. I'm captivated by another dimension. I've never felt this way before. I'm captivated by a love never ending. This is worth fighting for. This is worth fighting for.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the world you're joining us from. My name is Brian Baldwin, and I'm one of Tony's top master business results trainer and mentor coaches. I'm both excited and honored to be your coach and guide for this month's Inner Circle program on the triggers of a crisis. This is where mindset meets strategy for your business and your personal life. Now, before we begin, let's get an idea of who's been on today. And I see that you guys have already started doing that, and put your name in the chat and let us know your name and where you're joining us from. I've been keeping track of some of you as you've been coming in. I saw Sarah from not New York, but rainy New York. We had Barbara from Jupiter. That's the city, not the planet, down in Florida. Kelly from London, Patricia from Spain, Allison, Oslo, Norway, Suzette, Pretoria, South Africa. We got Hivya from Mexico. We've got, Patricia from Spain. So we have a truly international crowd today, and I want to welcome all of you. And I want to welcome to the Inner Circle community, and maybe you're an Inner Circle veteran who's been around since our very first training. Possibly, this is your very first Inner Circle event. Regardless of who you are and where you are in your Inner Circle journey, please congratulate yourself for taking action and being a part of this life-changing community. Tony talks extensively on the power of proximity, meaning that we become who we associate with. And where else can you be a part of a community of literally thousands of individuals who are committed to creating an extraordinary life and business on their terms, and who are also committed to the changing of lives for the better? And if you've not already done so, please honor yourself by putting your right hand on your left shoulder, and do it with me. Give yourself a pat on the back. So great job. You're a rare breed. And for taking this journey, you and I are in exactly the right place at exactly the right time today. And today, we're going to make sure that you can tap into the ultimate power of anticipation, so you can handle whatever comes your way. And I want to point this out because this is so important, that regardless of whether you're a business owner or not, everything that we're going to be covering today will be applicable for all of you. And before we start, like everyone, just take a moment, check in your state. Now, many of you have been around long enough to know the importance of state. And as we say, state is everything. Now, for the next 10 seconds, wherever you are right now, and whether you're sitting or standing, we're going to create as much energy as you can. So ready? Let's count this down. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Great job, everyone. Now grab your pen and whatever you're going to be taking notes with, and sit up, and I'll do this with you. Make sure that we're taking a sip of water. Stay hydrated. Take a deep breath, and know that the information that you're about to hear may fundamentally change the trajectory of your life and your business. And show up as if you're at a live event today, which you are. Be fully engaged and present. Play full out. Listen and take notes as if you will need to teach this. That action alone will massively increase your retention, because just like in my previous Inner Circle talk, there's going to be a test. Yes, I said it. There will be a test, except this one's going to be a bit different. This test is going to be about how well you navigate a season. And that season is called winter. Tony has spoken for years on the fact that winter is coming. And in fact, I remember over a decade ago, I was sitting in Business Mastery and Tony's talking about winter and that it's coming. And right now, what we're really talking about is that economic winter. And it is safe to say, and Tony himself has already said this, that winter's here. However, just like any winter season, though, we never really know how tough a winter is going to be until we're in it. Sometimes they're relatively mild and pleasant, and as far as winter goes, they're okay. Other times we feel the full wrath of Mother Nature, and we may be spending days without power and digging out from a blizzard. Right now, we can pull out the old Farmer's Almanac and we can see what their prediction is about the upcoming winter, and that may give us some direction. However, we really never know until we're in it. If we look at this from an economic perspective, ask yourself this. 1 year ago, that's not that long ago, 1 year ago, would you have predicted a war, a crippled worldwide supply chain, huge increases in interest? The big quit, as it's referred to, or now the next iteration of that is called the quiet quitting. If we had read the tea leaves, if you will, and paid attention to all of the signs or indicators, we might have been able to foresee some of these events and prepare for them. However, some of these simply could not have been predicted. What we're here to accomplish today is determining how you can begin to prepare for winter. Whether you're in business or not, whether you're a business owner, a partner, a consultant, an investor, or even an employee, whether you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, is simply in the business of your life, this applies to everyone here today. We're looking to understand how to prepare and recession-proof yourself in these turbulent times. All of the indicators are around us. High rates of inflation, rising interest rates, market volatility, a tight labor market, whatever it is, the signs are all there. And as an interesting fact, I just wanted to share this with you. I recently came across this earlier in the month as I was preparing for our discussion today. Now, the US unemployment rates rose, and this is for a 3-month average of 0.2%. And we're thinking, well, it's only 0.2%. How big a deal is that? The reason that this is relevant here today is that there's never been a time in the post-Second World War period where that 3-month average unemployment rate rose by 0.3%, that it was not followed by a recession. When we think about that, we're standing at the doorstep of a recession. And it's critical that we all prepare for the next phase of this economic winter that we're already in. What this comes down to, as Tony makes reference to, is anticipation. But what does that mean? If we were to look in the dictionary, the word anticipate is defined as realizing beforehand, or to foresee, to nullify, to prevent, or forestall, so that by taking countermeasures in advance. What we're really looking at doing today is to look at ways that we can prepare for the winter that we are in and the winter that is yet to come. As Tony said before, in winter, some people ski and some people freeze. Let's make sure that we're the ones who are skiing and that we're seeing the opportunity in winter and the ones that are maximizing it. Now, let's just see in the chat. How many of you watched Tony's video earlier this month on the 8 triggers of a crisis? So just start dropping a yes in there. And while you're doing that, we're going to do a brief review of them. However, as we're going through them, look at them through the lens of not only business, but also from a personal perspective. Not all of you have businesses. So make sure that you are also looking at this from your personal balance sheet as well. Now, as Tony mentioned, there we go. Thank you, Sarah. Melinda's watched it. Athena, and then Morgan Street, Kelly, great job. Perfect. Great to see you guys watch that. If you haven't already, please do so. It's amazing. And as Tony mentioned, there are the 8 things that can cause a crisis in any business or for any person for that matter. Pay attention. Make sure that you write these down and look at these through both a personal and business lens, if that applies to you. And we've got that slide up. Awesome. Now, the first one is unanticipated change in competition. For those of you in business, this is self-explanatory. And Tony used the example of Bill Gates and IBM, for those of you who've actually watched the video. From a personal perspective, think about this from who's your competition? Even though you're not in business, who are you competing with? Maybe that's for a raise, a position. Maybe it's even for a job. We're constantly competing personally and in business. So think about what's coming for you in the next period of time with regards to your competition. The second trigger is a change in technology. Tony referenced the collapse of Blockbuster when Netflix changed the game technologically. Remember to look at this through not only the business lens, but a personal lens as well. How is technology affecting you and your job or career? And I literally saw an article earlier this week where China's increasing its production of robotics to offset an upcoming predicted labor shortage. And that's fact. Ask yourself, how is an advancement in artificial intelligence or automation or technology potentially threatening your career or your personal balance sheet? Trigger number 3 is a change in culture. And Tony discussed this in the rise of Napster, which drove a cultural shift around how music was distributed and consumed, which over time drove an industry-wide reduction of 58% in the revenues. That's huge. That's across the entire music industry. And today, all around us, we're seeing a shift in culture ranging from societal values to green initiatives. You want to ask yourself, how will that impact you personally, and how will this impact your business? Number 4 is a change in the economy. This one's pretty self-explanatory. The changes in the economy are the forefront of seemingly every single headline that we see right now. As we discussed earlier, global market volatility, disrupted supply chains, debt crises, wars, rampant inflation, exponential rises in interest rates, just to name a few. It's critical to start to look at this on how to protect both yourself personally as well from a business perspective as well. Trigger number 5 is the change in government or regulations. After COVID, everyone worldwide now understands the impact of this. We all witnessed how quickly, and this was a thing, it was the speed at which this happened, how quickly those changes in regulations or restrictions could impact us both personally as well as within our business. Trigger number 6 is really around the changes in employees' lives. Tony referred to how a change in the life in the stages of an employee can have a direct impact on a business. If you look into your workforce, for those of you who are business owners out there, look into your workforce and see the changes that are occurring for them. Maybe they're just getting married, having children, becoming an empty nester. Maybe they've got their children starting college. Maybe they're preparing for retirement. All of these are going to impact the needs and expectations of your employees. And this isn't just about business. This also applies for those of you who are employees and you're going through your own life stages. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Trigger number 7 is the changes in your customers' lives. The reference that Tony referred to was actually Harley Davidson. It's a motorcycle manufacturer, which I'm sure all of us are familiar with. And their market was upended as their largest customer segment, which were the baby boomers. They advanced into a stage of life where they no longer purchased their product. And this was compounded by the fact that the subsequent generation was not wanting their product. They wanted something different. For those of you who don't own a business, how is this creating threats or even opportunities for you in this next season? And for those of you who are owning that business, we have to look at it the same way. And if you're an employee, how is this upcoming season impacting your industry, the business that you work for? How is that impacting now your skill sets and your employability going forward? Final trigger is really around the changes in your life stage. We referred to this a little bit when we talked about the employees, but now we're going to look at it, that person in the mirror. How you want to spend your time today is likely vastly different than it was 10 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, or maybe even last year. Your wants, your desires, your needs, those change over the arc of your lifetime. And as well, your life stage will also impact how aggressive or how conservative you're going to be in your approach for the remainder of this economic winter. The question really becomes, how do I anticipate these coming changes? What is the best approach to begin to recession-proof myself and my business for the winter ahead? I'll next introduce you to a framework for you to begin to follow to identify a path forward and anticipate the challenges that lie ahead. For those of you who have attended Business Mastery or an Over the Live event, could be Unleash the Power Within, could be even some of our previous trainings in Inner Circle, this is going to be a review. And even if it is a review for you, now is this time to start to apply it, because remember, knowing and doing are two different things. And if you haven't been exposed to this before, this will be something that may fundamentally and completely transform how you approach challenges or problems, not only for the upcoming winter, but also for any crisis or any situation in your life or business. And as you're all aware by now, all results are comprised of two things, and that's 80% psychology and 20% strategy and mechanics. Most of us are habitually drawn to the how, the mechanics, and are looking for the A, B, C's, and X's and O's on what to do. Now, don't get me wrong. You need strategies. You need actions, because this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where the massive action takes place and how we actually generate results. But even if you have the best strategy, if you have a lousy psychology, you might not really step up and execute the strategy. This is where the psychology comes in, that mindset element. And you have to have a rock solid, resourceful psychology in order to effectively anticipate and then create and execute a strategy going forward. And let's be clear. When we're talking about anticipation, we're talking not only about anticipating the challenges, we're also talking about anticipating the opportunities. Because the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of stuff going on on sale here shortly. So let's sure that we're looking at it both from a challenge and opportunity perspective. Now, the two components that we're going to dive deeper into for your psychology, your mindset today, are really around your state and your story. And write this down, because again, this is the order at which you must focus on your movement forward, your anticipation, that state, story, strategy, in that order. That is how you must approach this winter season. And it must be done in that order. And I'll say it again, state, story, strategy. As you've heard Tony say, state is everything. And that is even more applicable with the current season that we're in. In order to effectively anticipate our response to these triggers of a crisis, we have to be, and I can't emphasize that, we must be in a resourceful state. The truth of the matter is that with this winter season, we are heading into not only an economic winter, also we're heading into mindset boot camp. Your psychology is going to be tested. If you're in a place of fear, uncertainty, doubt, worry, suffering, everything that you come up with, every solution, every approach will likely simply give you more of those things to be fearful of or worry about. Remember, and write this down, what we seek, we find. What we seek, we find. And as I mentioned during my Inner Circle training back in April, we don't get our results, we get who we are. I'll say that again, we don't get our results, we get who we are. This is so important around the psychology and mindset side, because if you're fearful, or if you're worried, or if you're doubtful, your results will likely be a reflection of that. And you got to change that. Now, just take a moment now and think about your current state and the emotions that come up for you as you're now facing winter. Are you feeling fearful? Is there an element of dread or uncertainty? Are you concerned? Are you worried? Really check in now and write down that emotion or emotions. Maybe there's a few things that are coming up, and just put those in the chat. You don't filter it, just whatever comes up. What's that first hit? And I'll just give you a moment to start to put that in. And as you now start to identify those emotions that you're currently experiencing, well, think about, what must I feel as you're now starting to face this economic winter? Maybe it's confidence. Maybe it's optimism. Maybe it's strength. Maybe it's determination. Maybe it's resilience. Whatever it is, just quickly write these down. You're going to have an opportunity to expand this in a moment. But whatever it is, identify what state you must be in to not only effectively anticipate this upcoming season, but to also allow you to create your best action plan moving forward. Like I said, just write that down on your piece of paper. And again, you can share it in the chat. Seeing some concern, excited, hopeful, firm, fearful, worried, anxious. So Charlene, thank you for being honest on that. A few other ones we're seeing, people anticipating stock market crash. So there's fear, there's anxiety. I guarantee if you're looking at and anticipating changes and looking at it through those lenses, you're not going to see things very well. So this, like I said, make sure that you're capturing what you need to feel. What is that emotion? By now, you're starting to get to see how the state that we're in affects how we will see any situation. This will impact that anticipation. And in the interest of time, we're going to have just a very brief review of the framework that allows us to create any emotion on demand, which is the triad. And many of you might have seen this or heard of this in some of our previous events. And as you will recall, for those of you that are exposed to it, the triad identifies the three components of the three molders of meaning that make up any emotion or state. And just to review, the three components are, first off, is our physiology. So this identifies the physical position of our body when we're in that state, in positive, neutral, or negative. How are we standing? How are we breathing? What are our facial expressions? And again, you can just try this right now. If you just kind of roll your shoulders in and kind of put a sad look in your face, kind of let out a sigh, you're going to feel a certain way. Versus if you put a big smile on your face, bring your shoulders back, take a deep breath. That shows you how important physiology is relative to our state. The second component, or molder of meaning, is our focus and our beliefs. What are we focusing on? And what are we believing when we're in a particular state? As you've heard, where focus goes, energy flows. So if we're focusing on something disempowering versus something empowering or our success, that's what we're going to feel. What we also want to check in with is our beliefs as well, as this will determine your state. If you believe that you can't do something, if you believe that the market's going to crash, if you believe that, terrible things are going to happen in this economic winter, and I'm not going skiing, Brian, I'm going to be freezing, you're likely to prove yourself correct. That final pattern in the triad of every emotion is language and meaning. The words that we use to describe an experience becomes an experience. I'll say that again because you'll want to write that down. Back to the words that we use to describe an experience becomes the experience. So it's important that we're identifying the language and the meaning that we're attaching to it, and so that it's aligned with the state that you're desiring. And as Henry Ford once said, if you say you can or if you say you can't, you're going to be right. Remember to identify that empowering emotion that you will need in order to anticipate and address this impending winter. Now, that's the state side. That's that emotion or emotional home. Let's talk about our story, because your story is the narrative that you're telling yourself about a situation, about why you can accomplish something, or how it may be elusive and why you can't accomplish it. Your story shapes your reality, and in fact, your story becomes your reality. And I'll say that again, your story becomes your reality, whether that's positive, whether that's neutral, whether that's negative. Your story about this winter season must be about how you will anticipate the challenges, how you will take action to counter the headwinds you may experience, and how you will prevail during this uncertain time. It is important that your story is one of optimism, one of resourcefulness, and one where you see the opportunity of the winter season and that you know that you can take action to capitalize on it. It is also a time where you want to have some faith. We have to remember what fear and faith have in common, and it's that they're both made up. Tony talks about this. Fear and faith, they have the same thing in common where they're both made up. But here's the difference, because I saw that earlier in the chat, there's a lot of fear coming up. The difference is that fear, and you'll want to write this down, the difference is that fear is imagination undirected. Fear is imagination undirected. And faith is imagination directed. Faith is imagination directed. Either way, you are going to tell yourself a story. Take control of the narrative and direct your mind to where it is you want to go during the economic winter, and do not let the little mind take over. Nothing great has ever got created from a narrative of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Someone is going to thrive during winter. Why not you? Now that we've covered off the importance of your state and your story, let's put this to work. We're going to have a journaling exercise where we're going to turn this concept into reality. Before we do, I want to first share with you the 3 mandates of leadership. It's critical that you look at your current situation and anticipate from this place. And again, I'll say that again. It is critical that you look at your current situation and anticipate from this place. And the truth is, even though it's now the mandates of leadership, we are all leaders. Whether you're leaders of your business, whether you're leaders of your life, of your desk, of your role, of your community, of your families, all of you are leaders. Now, the first mandate is see it as it is, not worse than it is. Real leaders wake people up to the reality of the situation. They get people to see what's really going on. Leaders know that this is not about being positive. It's really around being smart. The key is to see it for how it really is and not catastrophize it and make it worse than it is. So that's number 1. See it as it is. Second mandate is to see it better than it is. Create a vision beyond the moment, regardless of how difficult this moment currently is or may be. Real leaders see the opportunities that others do not, and they take advantage of the possibilities. In this winter season, what is your vision of how you will thrive and take advantage of the upcoming opportunities that will present themselves? And the third mandate is make it the way you see it. Real leaders commit themselves. They inspire themselves and those around them. And they come up with the strategies. They find a way, regardless of what people say, what the media says, can or can't be done. They anticipate, they adapt, they change, they add value, they are flexible. Now, looking through that lens of leadership, you want to answer these following questions. First, you've already captured this before, but what is the empowering emotion or emotions that you must have in order to effectively anticipate the winter season? Maybe it's confidence, determination, resilience, gratitude, whatever that emotion is, you'll want to capture it and write that down. And remember, it all starts with state. And now that you've done that, do whatever you need to do and identify those as you're answering these questions and be in that state, bring that confidence, the resilience, that flexibility. The next question is, what is my new narrative or story that I'll tell myself and that I'll tell others that is now going to assure my success through this winter season? Make sure that it's something that's powerful for you, something that speaks to you and is one of not only surviving the winter, but thriving and going to your next level. Companies that were actually started during depressions and recessions. Ford, IBM, General Motors, UPS, Walt Disney, Lockheed Martin, 3M, Visa, Marriott. I could go on, however you start to get the idea. Someone is going to thrive in this season. What does your story need to be to ensure that it's you? Third question that you're going to want to answer as you're looking at the top 8, the 8 triggers of the crisis, what are the top 1, 2, or 3 that I should be most concerned about, like right now, based on what you know? And again, looking at it through that new state, seeing it as it is, not worse than it is. And now from there, write that down. What is the trigger and what is the consequence or crisis that it could trigger if I don't take action on this? Anticipate what will happen. You want to do this both for your business as well as for your personal life. And as a reminder, The 8 triggers are, and you'll want to write this down if you have not already done it: change in competition, change in technology, change in culture, change in economy, change in the government or restrictions, change in employees' lives, change in your customers' lives, and change in your life stage. Say that one more time, just in case you guys didn't write it down the first time. Change in competition, change in technology, change in culture, economy, change in government or restrictions, your employees' lives, your customers' lives, or changes in your life stage. The final question that you'll want to answer is, who do I need to tell or share this information with? As you recall, last month's Inner Circle, when Tom Petrillo was on, discussing our chosen family, which was brilliant. And if you guys haven't seen it, you must go back and watch the recording of it. Who of your chosen family needs to hear this information so that they too can anticipate the coming winter and be prepared? Who needs that gift of knowledge from you? I'll give you 3 or 4 minutes. Start writing that down now.
Starry eyes and cellophane, she takes her walk, she makes her plans. A truck bails down the avenue, there's broken glass, a missing pew at church. Maybe I was wrong, maybe time's too strong. Are we falling further? Are the lights that take us home when everyone is gone? Are we breaking title to ask the question why? We live and then we die. I think I'm fine. Maybe I'll write you from the other side. He was young when mom got cancer. Here life comes on Dasher Dancer. Raised up his little sister on his own. He brushed her hair and watched her grow. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe time's not that strong. Are we falling further? Are the lights that take us home and everyone is gone? Are we breaking title to ask the question why? We live and then we die. I think I'm fine. Maybe I'll write you from the other side. I'm just gonna take it slowly. I'm just gonna live one day at a time. I hope you feel you truly know me. If something comes to take me in the night, are we falling further? Are the lights to take us home when everyone is gone? We break title to ask the question why. We live and then we die. I think I'm fine. Maybe I'll write you from the other side.
And 1 more minute. And let's start wrapping up.
If I'm honest, I don't know what I'm doing.
Welcome back. Great job, everyone. Now, some of you may be wondering, why do we have this journaling exercise in the middle of our training? The reason for it is I want to ensure that you leave here today with something in your hands that is actionable. so that you now know who do you need to show up as, what emotions that I need to bring, what is my new narrative. Start to identify what are some of the triggers and what are some of the crises, and more importantly, start to think about those people that I need to share this with, my chosen family. And great work in capturing your new empowering state in your story. And I've been watching the chat coming up. And again, thank you guys for putting those up. Some of those things are absolutely beautiful, like with regards to Luke putting some great stuff up there with regards to his story. I was born for this. Mark, I'm one with God and God is everything. Excellent job starting to anticipate the triggers of a crisis and what this could mean for you. And more importantly, who are those that are close to you, part of your chosen family that you need to share this information with, because we want them to come with us. Now that you've captured this, let's recap what we've covered today. First off, an economic winter is here, and that will impact all of us personally, as well as our business for those of you who own them. Second, the key is anticipation. To begin to anticipate what impact there will be on your business and your personal situation. What we also know is we have to have an empowering state, an empowering story in order to be able to anticipate and to see it as it really is. Third, there are 8 triggers to any crisis. And again, just as a reminder, changes in competition, changes in technology, changes in culture, changes in economy, changes in the government or regulations, in employees' lives, and your customers' lives, and even your life. And as a reminder, you must be in that empowering state and story to effectively anticipate and navigate this season and any crisis in your business and your personal life. And finally, we covered off the 3 mandates of leadership. And remember, you're all leaders. And as a reminder, they are, and remember to write these down if you haven't already done so. See it as it is, not worse than it is. See it better than it is, and make it the way you see it. Now, I've shared some vitally important pieces of information with you today, and you've all been amazing. I love what you've been putting up in the chat. And as you know, we never leave the site of a decision or a distinction without an action, because it isn't necessarily what information you get in our sessions. Is what do you do with it afterwards that's going to create the biggest impact for you. So here is what you'll want to do, and make sure that you write this down. Number 1, stay connected. This, by virtue of you being in the inner circle, this is your chosen family. This is your community. And the power of your participation in this community acts as an amplifier for you and for those around you. Next, consistently manage your state and remind yourself of your new empowering story. I can't emphasize enough. 80% of what's going to happen for you will be your psychology and mindset, and those are comprised of your state and story. Make sure that you're on point with those and rock solid. Third, take the information that you journaled earlier. Take action on it. Dive deeper into the consequences or even the opportunities that you've identified of the potential triggers, and identify the next steps or actions that you can take to anticipate and prepare for the rest of this winter. Also, what you want to do after this is create an RPM block for each of the triggers that you identified in your journaling exercise. Many, if not most of you, have been through the amazing RPM training that was presented here in the previous months. So let's get clear on the result that you're looking for, that trigger. Why is this a must for you to address? And then what is your massive action plan that you will take in order to mitigate that, or even to take advantage of the opportunity? Next, reach out to the people in your chosen family. Share this information so that they can prepare for this winter season, that they can go with you, so all of you can anticipate and thrive during this. Someone's going to go skiing, someone's going to freeze. So let's make sure that you're sharing it with the people that you want to come with you, so you all can go skiing. Also then, commit to taking at least one action in the next 24 hours based on what you learned today, based on what you journaled. It could be as simple as a phone call. It can be an outreach. It can be a decision. Regardless of how big or small, make sure to take that action so that you can begin to create immediate momentum. You may have heard the hardest thing to create is momentum. The easiest thing to lose is momentum. Get started within the next 24 hours. Now, with regards to coming attractions, I've got some very exciting news. Now, get out your calendars, or you can write this down. What I'm about to share are some very important dates. Now, first, our very own Dean Graziosi will be live in the Inner Circle on September 26th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So again, September 26th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. He's going to be sharing some very exciting changes that are coming to the Inner Circle. I've had a peek behind the curtain. You don't want to miss that. Next, I am very excited to announce that Tony's going to be joining us live on October 6th at 12 p.m. Pacific. So mark that on your calendar. Make sure you clear a couple hours, because Tony says he'll be there for an hour, and 4 hours later, you're still hanging on the edge of your seat. So make sure that you've got time set aside for October 6th, so that when Tony's on, you're here and engaging that and being able to participate live. And as I mentioned earlier, it's always such an honor to be able to support you on this leg of your Inner Circle journey, and to be able to share these gifts of anticipation and now how to start to approach this now that we are into winter. And to sign off today, I'm going to leave you with a couple things. I'm going to leave you with a thought and a quote. And the thought is this: in 100% of the cases, spring always follows winter, all the time. So even though we're going through this economic winter, even though it may be a bit bumpy, it may be a time of great opportunity, regardless, spring always follows. And I want to share a quote from Tony himself, and you will want to write this down. This is maybe one of the most important things that you may hear today. And for those of you who are at Business Mastery, you would have heard Keith Cunningham share this. And I remember when Keith shared that, I literally grabbed my pen and I ran to my whiteboard and wrote this down. And it is so pertinent to what we covered off today that I want to share it with you again. And it's this: the greatest opportunity comes in times of maximum pessimism. I'll say that again. The greatest opportunity comes in times of maximum pessimism. On that note, I want to say thank you. Have a spectacular day, and I look forward to connecting with all of you again in the Inner Circle community. Thank you so much. Have an absolutely spectacular day, and get out there and anticipate and take that action. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.